Someone finally lost. Someone finally told the truth. And after months of manipulation, fear, and psychological control, justice has finally arrived in Weatherfield. Or has it? Because while Megan Walsh has finally been found guilty, one chilling question still refuses to disappear. Is this really the end of her story? Or only the beginning of something even darker? Welcome back to Coronation Street Update. If you love dramatic Corrie breakdowns, hidden clues, shocking theories, and the biggest spoilers from Weatherfield, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because today's story isn't just about a guilty verdict. It's about trauma, survival, justice, and the emotional scars that don't disappear when a courtroom reaches its decision. For months, Megan Walsh appeared almost untouchable. She carefully crafted an image of someone kind, trustworthy, professional, someone nobody would suspect. But behind that carefully constructed mask was something far more sinister. She manipulated. She deceived. She abused the trust placed in her. And perhaps most heartbreakingly of all, she targeted someone who never imagined the person hurting him was someone he was supposed to trust. Will Driscoll became trapped inside a nightmare that slowly consumed every part of his life. His confidence disappeared. His future became uncertain. Even speaking the truth felt impossible. Every victim of manipulation understands one painful reality. The abuse rarely ends when the relationship ends. The fear continues. The guilt lingers. The confusion remains. And that's exactly what Coronation Street has spent months exploring. But then everything changed. The courtroom became the battleground where everything would finally be decided. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Not just for Megan, but for every person whose life she damaged. For Will. For his family. For everyone desperate to see accountability. Yet despite the overwhelming evidence, nothing felt guaranteed. Megan refused to surrender. Instead, she did what manipulators often do best. She fought. She twisted. She challenged every accusation. She built a defense designed to create doubt. And for a terrifying moment, it looked like it might actually work. As Will prepared to give evidence, viewers watched a young man forced to relive the most traumatic period of his life. Every question reopened old wounds. Every memory brought fresh pain. Every moment inside that courtroom demanded extraordinary courage. Because speaking the truth isn't always enough. Victims often fear they won't be believed. That nobody will understand. That somehow they'll be blamed. Those fears made every second of the trial almost unbearable to watch. But that's only the beginning. Because while the courtroom drama unfolded, another emotional battle was taking place inside Will himself. This wasn't simply about winning a legal case. This was about reclaiming control. For so long, Megan had controlled the narrative. He controlled the lies. He controlled the manipulation. He controlled the fear. Now for the first time, Will had the chance to take that power back. And that's where the emotional heart of this story truly lies. Justice isn't simply about punishment. It's about giving survivors their voice. It's about reminding them that what happened wasn't their fault. It's about proving that manipulation doesn't have to win forever. Then came the moment that changed everything. The jury returned. The courtroom fell silent. Every face revealed fear, hope, anxiety. Nobody knew what was coming next. And then, the verdict. Guilty. Guilty of inciting a child to engage in sexual activity. Guilty of abusing a position of trust. In a single moment, months of lies came crashing down. Megan Walsh had finally lost. It was an explosive conclusion to one of Coronation Street's most disturbing storylines in recent years. But what makes the verdict so powerful isn't simply that Megan goes to prison. It's what the decision represents. After months of emotional devastation, someone believed Will. Someone listened. Someone finally said that what happened mattered. And for many viewers, that moment was every bit as emotional as the verdict itself. But if you think this story was ever heading towards a dramatic escape, think again. In a revealing interview following the episode, actress Beth Nixon confirmed something many fans never knew. The guilty verdict wasn't a last-minute twist. It had always been the plan. From the earliest stages of developing the storyline, the writers intended Megan to face justice rather than escape through death or some unbelievable twist. That revelation completely changes how many fans will look back at the storyline. Instead of creating another soap villain who disappears before facing consequences, Coronation Street deliberately chose accountability. Beth explained that Meghan was never supposed to avoid prison. Instead, the writers wanted audiences to experience the entire emotional process. Not just the crime. Not just the investigation. But the long, exhausting journey survivors often face before justice is finally achieved. And perhaps that's why this storyline has resonated with so many viewers. Because it didn't present healing as something simple. It acknowledged the emotional cost paid by every member of Will's family. The sleepless nights. The fear. The uncertainty. The frustration. The endless waiting. Justice arrived. But only after enormous emotional suffering. However, another question now emerges. What happens after justice? Because prison cannot erase trauma. It cannot restore lost confidence overnight. It cannot remove painful memories. Will's life has changed forever. His family has changed forever. Recovery isn't measured by guilty verdicts. Recovery happens one difficult day at a time. And Coronation Street appears determined to continue exploring exactly that. Beth Nixon herself admitted how important this message was. She explained that while justice sadly doesn't happen in every real-life case, recent events inspired the writers to show that victims can be believed, that they can speak out, and that sometimes, the legal system does work. It's an important message. One grounded in hope rather than fantasy. Yet even with Meghan behind bars, fans are already asking another question. Could she one day return? Soap history tells us never to say never. Beth certainly isn't ruling it out. In fact, she openly admitted she would love the opportunity to return to Weatherfield someday. Not because Meghan deserves redemption, but because there are still fascinating stories waiting to be told. One idea in particular has captured fans' imaginations. Life inside prison. Beth joked about Meghan crossing paths with Lou Michaelis behind bars. And according to her, Lou wouldn't be intimidated for a second. She believes Lou would quickly put Meghan firmly in her place. It's an intriguing possibility. Because while Meghan successfully manipulated people outside prison, those tactics might not work behind bars. Inside prison walls, power constantly shifts. Manipulators often become targets themselves. Could Meghan finally experience the fear she inflicted on others? Could prison force her to confront who she really is? Or would she simply begin manipulating a whole new group of people? That's the unsettling mystery. Because characters like Meghan rarely stop playing games. Even when they've lost. Even when justice catches up with them. Even when every lie has been exposed. Manipulation is often part of who they are. And that's what makes the possibility of a future return so fascinating. Not because viewers want revenge, but because unfinished psychological battles rarely disappear completely. Meanwhile, Will now faces perhaps the hardest chapter of all. Learning how to live without fear. Learning how to trust again. Learning that his future doesn't have to be defined by his past. Those battles won't happen overnight. There will almost certainly be setbacks. Moments of doubt. Painful memories. Unexpected triggers. But there is finally something he didn't have before. Hope. Real hope. The kind that only comes when the truth finally wins. Still, Weatherfield has a habit of reminding everyone that one ending usually marks the beginning of another mystery. One villain may have fallen. One courtroom battle may be over. But emotional consequences ripple through families long after judges leave the courtroom. And if there's one lesson Coronation Street continues to teach us, it's that healing is never a straight path. The scars remain. The memories linger. But courage can survive. Truth can prevail. And sometimes, justice really is possible. Yet as one chapter closes, another question refuses to go away. Has Meghan Walsh truly disappeared from Weatherfield forever? Or is prison simply the place where her next dangerous game will begin? Because if one thing has become painfully clear, people like Meghan rarely stop manipulating. They simply wait for their next opportunity. And if that opportunity ever comes, Weatherfield may once again find itself confronting one of its darkest nightmares.